Well, it's 7 o'clock, so we can get started. So just the common reminder is that we will be streamed and will be posted after the regular council meeting. So is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in general nature of that? Okay, hearing none, we'll continue. There are no public hearings, no delegations this evening. So we'll move on to question period. Are there any questions on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that you would like severed? Yes.
D3.
D3. Yes. Did I guess?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Any other ones? Okay, so I'll just read the motion. Okay, the motion needs to be resolved that items A1 to F3, excluding items B1 and D3, contained in Part 1 of the consent agenda be adopted. All in favor? Okay, that motion is carried. Okay, so we're moving on. We have adoption of minutes. A1 regular meeting of council February 26, 2019. Any questions or comments? Okay, item B1, board and committee report. So B1 is corporate services committee meeting of March 5th, 2019. Okay, there are no matters arising from the in-camera session. Business arising from board and committees. So community services committee meeting of February 19th, we have one item. That's item B1, that's probably severed. We'll discuss that in a little bit. Item B2, recommendation regarding council staff relations policy. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Council staff relations. Did we want to pass that tonight? Is that what this is about?
That's what this is about, yes.
Well, can we sever that as well then?
We should have asked to sever that earlier when I asked. Because it's already written in the motion. You can make comments on it. You're certainly welcome to make comments on it.
Can things be changed or deleted?
No, it's already been through community or corporate services, and they are recommending that that policy be adopted. And I had asked if anybody wants anything severed.
Okay, I understand. That's fine.
Okay?
Yeah.
At some point in time, if there's things that are not working on a policy, that policy can always be revisited. But we can work with the policy at this point in time. Do you have any specific questions on the policy?
No, I just didn't care for it, basically.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had questions on it.
You were on corporate services.
I did not remember going in through all of this here. I know that it went through our thing, but I've had time to read it over and I had a few questions.
Okay, well, ask your questions. We'll see if we can get any of them sorted. If it's something you want to ask now, you can ask it now, because we can certainly carry on the discussion about it.
Okay.
So you can ask questions now.
Okay. Well, one of them was the part 4, clarifying roles.
Yeah.
Okay, so the direction focus, the liaison between council and staff, direct implementation of council's policies And my question, it goes around, hire and develop a team of competent staff. I don't understand. We already have staff here, so.
Yeah, okay, so this document just, that section just clarifies the roles of who is responsible for what. So under role of council, it says policy focus. Under role of senior management, that's the direction focus. So it is senior management's responsibility to hire competent staff. It's not saying that we're going out to hire additional staff or something, it's the role of management.
So they would go out and hire other staff without council as a whole having any say in the matter.
They
Is that
can't
it?
just go hire somebody unless it's been a position that's been approved by council.
Okay, so, well,
There's no changes in staffing unless it comes to council. So, but when it comes to council, if it's to replace something that's already in existence, we don't have any say in terms of who gets hired, unless it was, like, for instance, this is the role of the CAO. But if they needed to hire a new person, casual person to work at the front desk, then that's the role of management.
okay,
Okay, but there's no, they can't hire anybody without, like, a new position without coming to council for that.
okay. So we don't at this time have any positions that are looking to be filled or anything like that?
This is just a policy document. Something more?
Under scope and intent, it says that this policy should apply to municipal staff officers and members of council, right?
Yes,
But then in guiding principles, number 5, number 7 says control anger. It's worded mainly for members of council. Should it not read members of staff and officers? Council, staff and officers?
staff do have their own code of conduct, as we have our own code of conduct.
But this is the relation part, right?
Right. So we can make a note of that to look at next time we open up this policy. We're gonna run the wording in this policy as it.
I plan to bring up at a corporate services meeting, staff code of conduct, and we'll sort of address some of that stuff by making sure we review that and modify that if we feel it should be modified. Just for your information, okay? That was one of the items I had, I was thinking about bringing forward.
Any other issues? with this?
Yeah, I still have concerns with this. It just doesn't seem very clear in some spots. And like Councilor Foster was just saying, they were gonna look at that. I've seen some in different areas, and there's one that I thought was pretty good. It was made by a different community, of course, but it was a real concise document. It said everything. If you'd like, I'd like to pass it around. Like, not right now, but send you an email or whatever.
Sure, send that off through our CEO.
Okay.
And you can send it out. Now, this one has come from Wishart Law Group. They're a group that provides counsels, and they vet their policies through municipal lawyer.
Yes.
That's where this policy had originated from.
The
So
one
it's a policy that has been written, that has been adopted by the communities, that's been vetted through a law firm.
yes, I do realize that.
Okay.
And we had made one change relating to, as we'd gone through there, we made one change relating to, I think it was smaller, I'll have to find it,
It's under section 2 definitions for staff.
yeah.
This has gone through the corporate services board. It's been through the executive meetings we've had. Now, what was added is in the staff part 3, other people that work for the municipality are also to follow this policy. So people like that serve on boards and committees,
Yes.
they'd also be covered by this.
Like the other one I was speaking of was 8 pages long, and it's very concise as to what our rules are. I kind of liked it because it was easy. And this one here where it says role of staff and other officers, it says administrative officer, treasurer generally see to the operation of the municipal organization. And that's fine. Generally is not a good word in there. It means sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I mean, that could mean that. It doesn't mean that probably, but it could. Just like shall and may, they all have their own meanings. And again, if you go down to the building principles, the same thing applies. Dealing with the media is generally part of the elected representative's job. So these areas here would definitely have to be more definitive.
Okay, we can make note of that for review.
Another thing we added in is routine matters. So if it's something,
I was going to speak to that.
yeah, but that's in here. So, we didn't have to go through the CAO for every little item. If it was something that you could go to and someone in an organization likely have the answer, you could just go and ask that question. If it required some research or something like that, then they might push it back and say, look, we need to do more, and we don't have the answer for you. We have to do some research, and then it should be a council request.
Although I appreciate what you said, Bill, I still have problems with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a catch-22 sometime if you look at it. What if you just don't do the right thing or say the right thing, I mean, and it could mean nothing, but it could mean something as well. To me, it's just another way that if we do something that's out of the ordinary a little bit, I'm not saying we will, I'm just saying it could.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't mean it that way. Sometimes you end up, maybe it's not routine now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this has gone through corporate services twice, and they're proposing that we accept that.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't asked to be so it will be part of the consent agenda.
Yes, you said we could ask questions on it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anything else on this one?
No.
Okay, item D4, recommendation regarding the reserve policy. I have one question for Cynthia. There was 2 reserves that we recommended we close. Let's see if I can move over here. Was there, one is an insurance reserve, and the other one was software reserve. Was there any money left in those reserve accounts? No. Okay. I just want to make sure that we used to find out where that money was going, if there was. Okay, going on, E3 bylaw 290519, being a bylaw of town investment, confirm the proceedings of the council at its meeting February 26th. And bylaw 290619, being a bylaw of the town of Espanola to execute an agreement between the town of Espanola and the Ontario Clean Water Agency for endorsement of the operational plan for the Espanola drinking water. Any comments? Yes.
Is this just a one-year contract with them?
I'm not sure.
No, it was a 10-year contract with OFFA that we signed maybe a couple of years ago.
Is this the point in time where I may ask why we still put fluorine in the water?
No, but that's not up for debate.
No.
Report.
That would have to be brought as a separate item.
Yeah.
As I read it, this is really just we're agreeing to their operational plan. So they've laid out how they're going to operate. We sign a contract, it's going to cost so much.
And it's 10 years.
And if we saw something in their operational plan that we didn't like, that maybe the test frequency of chlorine residual or some other thing, we would have some options to maybe go back and revise it. But in my mind, I'm not going to question their expertise. It looks like it's a very thorough plan, and
It's also,
Yeah, go ahead.
it's also just a compliance report, and this is one that we have to post on our website.
Okay, under reports, we have F1, the Aqua 2018 annual and summary report for the Espanola water system. Item F2, management of the district services board 2018 fourth quarter activity report. Okay, one of the things I noted in that report is Fern Melly has volunteered to make a presentation to council on the activities of DSAM. Is there any interest in taking Fern up on that? That was written into his report.
Well, I think it would be, if I may, I
Yes.
think it would be fine if he came here because it's not only going to inform us on council, but it will also inform the media that we are being live streamed.
True.
Yes.
He was here during the last term. Fernie gave us a presentation, and as you guys are aware now, it's so complicated that
Yes.
it is very interesting, very expensive endeavor, but interesting.
Yeah, and it does require some substantial portion of our budget. And they are involved in lots of things. And if you're not on the committee or haven't been on the DSAP board, I'm sure there's probably something valuable that we can get. So we will ask for him to be contacted for a later meeting. Okay, item F3, Eskimo Police Services Committee meeting minutes of January 17th, 2019. Okay, now we're talking. Okay, that's the last item anyway, so, where's my motion going? I said I feel scattered tonight. Okay, so, here's the motion, items A1 to F3 included, containing the outline consent agenda, excluding items D1 and D3 be adopted, all in favor? Okay. So now we will deal with item D1. And that is about the garlic. Councilor Dupuis, you may start to ask the item D7.
Yes, I oppose this motion. I believe we have enough beautification down the main drag. This requires, in my research, 3 to 4 hours a day to do this. It requires inconvenience with the truck parked on the road or on the sidewalk or half and half. It's extra manpower. We have one public works worker on long term, maybe coming back soon. We have one on loan to the complex. We have one on vacation now, which is retiring April 1st. And then we're going to add an extra job, which we don't, extra work for the public works department, which we don't need. With the shortage of men, plus during the summer, we're talking about holidays. Now we've, problem is Ontario is always adding regulations in. So, example, the integrity commissioner, which is going to cost the town potentially a lot of money. We're budgeting for $50,000. We have extra cost like renting a 5-ton. One of ours broke down. We have to rent a 5-ton and a driver. Extra overtime on snow removal, and this cost, even if it's estimated here $7,000, it's $7,000 that isn't necessary, in my view.
Councilor Foster.
I agree with Ken. I'm not against doing a bit more beautification, but I'm against something that's going to be labor intensive. So if we could hang up something that looked nice but didn't require a lot of day-to-day attention, because we're proposing that someone would water these plants 5 days a week, I'd be more inclined to vote for something that did that. But hanging plants with flowers, I'm against.
I'm going to direct both of you, Councilor Dupuis, it says that the financial commitment is $2,100, almost $2,200, sorry, not $7,000. And it also is not a daily commitment. It says, and that's Councilor Foster, you had indicated clearly on the staff report, it says their practice was to water 3 times per week. So that's not a daily commitment for watering. That is 3 times per week. They don't go visit those daily. Any other comments first before I go back and redirect?
Yes, when we did have the hanging baskets, I personally have seen them out watering the baskets, the flowers in the pouring rain.
Yes, they need to.
Water the flowers when it's raining out?
Absolutely. Council report.
The 2,200 you mentioned, I believe, is for the flowers along the aren't they?
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, it'd be one man putting the water from the back of the truck into the flowers. And then you'd have probably a full-time man driving them around.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider. I'm going to have to decline on that as well.
Councillor Millard.
I have no comment.
Okay. One of the things I'm going to comment on is the watering the baskets in the rain. As a gardener, I have had lots of container pots in my yard. And when it rains, what happens is the water falls on the largest leaves and it drips off the sides of the basket, and very little water gets into the basket. Not only that, for flowers to stay beautiful and full, we need to make sure that those baskets are fertilized, because pots will quickly run out of fertilizer. You can see the differences in the summer when you go around and look at different people's baskets that they have hanging in the yard. Some of them, by the end of July, the beginning of August, they petered out, and there's hardly any flowers left on them, because they haven't had enough fertilizer added to the water. There's not sufficient fertilizer inside of that basket for the flowers to be sustained. So they do have to be watered. And I'm going to say that I'm actually in support of this motion because I look at the $2,000 of the true cost of these flowers. The $5,000 in terms of labor is $5,000 that's going to be spent anyways. It's not additional costs that are being added to this. I usually spend $400 to $500 in my own yard every year on flowers, and I see the importance of that because I've had people in the neighborhood stop and comment on flowers. I've caught strangers in my yard taking pictures, and I go outside and they try and scurry away because they were caught in my yard just taking pictures of flowers. I've had people that I know are walking with little kids, and the little kids run into the yard to see the flowers. It adds value to the neighborhood. It adds value to the community. We want to attract people into our community. We want to attract investments into our community. I've had people that I know, being a teacher, I know lots of teachers in Sudbury that own property on Manitoulin Island. And when the flowers were first taken away, I used to get comments frequently, what happened to the town? The town used to look pretty, now it doesn't. I used to stop in your town on the way to the island because it looked pretty. Now I don't. So it adds value to our businesses to have flowers. Take a look at the businesses in town that have flowers and add beautification to their own yards. Espanola Animal Hospital, I would say, is one. The one between the credit union and the post office, that pet food in place, has flowers in pots along that wall. Those businesses look attractive. Pinewood adds big flower boxes in front of their business every year. So I think we should be doing our part to add investment attraction into our community for the cost of $2,188. Councilor Foster.
The fact is, maybe we're taking somebody over here who's actually doing some work, and maybe we're getting preventative maintenance done. The number quoted was $5,000, if I recall, in the report, okay? And 5 days a week, even though it was originally set up, staff said they would likely do it 5 days a week. But it's still, that's work that they could be doing, or they can be doing, and which frees up our permanent staff to do some preventative maintenance or other things. So it's not free, okay, even though it may not change the total amount of money that the community pays. If we don't do something, sometimes it comes back and bites you. So I still say it's great if we were able to go with artificial flowers, okay, and pay $1,000 more. I would say I'd say great, go ahead and do that. It'll look nice, but we're not putting a lot of labor into it. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Anything else substantial to add?
I think both the entrance and the exit to Espanola are really done nicely. I mean, a lot of money's been spent on the big boxes of flowers by the bank and as you come into town and leaving with Clear Lake being beautified the way it is. Flowers aren't going to really mean much.
Right, I'll call motion. All in favor? Motion is defeated. Okay, item D3. You can close that one. Okay, Councilor Foster.
I wish to make an amendment to this motion. And the amendment I'd like to make is we add to, at the end of this motion, and the agenda be posted on the website on the Friday prior to the meeting. This means we would post the agenda on Wednesday or no, council would get the agenda on Wednesday and public would be able to see it on the website sometime Friday. So I'd like to make a notice of motion there that we do
Okay, I
this.
want to notice a motion.
Okay, revision, okay,
Let
that's
me
all right.
read the motion first, so.
Sure.
I-
Okay,
we could actually-
sorry.
No, it's okay, I was at fault there, so moved by Councilor Dufour, seconded by Councilor Duplessis, be it resolved that as recommended by the Corporate Services Committee, that staff be directed to prepare the council agendas for 4 p.m. on Wednesday, the week prior to the council meeting, and there is an amendment to add that the agenda be posted on Friday.
Town website on Friday.
To the website on Friday. Any comments on the amendment? Just on the amendment?
Is that electronically or hard copy?
Electronically, if it's posted on the website.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll vote in favor of adding the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? Okay. I'm just writing it in here now. Did you say Friday at noon or Friday?
I just said Friday, so
Okay.
Staff will go home. It's the way it's written there now, it's 4 o'clock Wednesday, so 4 o'clock Friday is a reasonable time to see if there's any little spelling errors or other things we need to have adjusted.
Okay, so the motion that we will be discussing reads, staff be directed to prepare council agendas for 4 p.m. on Wednesday of the week prior to council meeting, and that the agenda be posted to the website on Friday by 4 p.m. Okay, so I'll open the floor for discussion.
I'm in favor of that.
Okay, I just want to point out that in the staff report, when it was that we were, corporate services had requested that staff report because they're the one that happened at the site. On that staff report, it reads, as it stands now, which is on Friday, it is difficult to meet the timelines that were involved. Okay, it has been in practice for many years to have the agendas prepared and circulated to council by noon on Friday. It is available earlier when possible. So we are asking staff to do something that they're having difficulty meeting on Friday to prepare that early. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that you are aware of the problems that are causing staff. I also want to point out what some of the implications are. So I've taken a look at some timelines that are potential. So say there's something that comes out of this meeting, this council meeting, that we wish to pass on to community services. Community services meets next week. So if the staff is supposed to get the reports and the agendas out by noon tomorrow, anything that we're requesting will not be able to get onto the community services meeting. So that means it's not gonna get addressed until April 16th, because that's the next meeting. So we're already looking 5 weeks away. Now, if there's something that comes back out of community services to come back to council, if that gets passed on Tuesday at community services on April 16th, it can't get onto the April 23rd meeting because again, we're missing that deadline. So something potentially today that we want to run through a committee to review will not come back to council until May 14th. So we are asking for a delay in the process of 2 months potentially for items that are happening. Council Foster.
We talked about that a little bit there, okay, but generally out of a meeting, out of a, let's say, a corporate services meeting, let's say if we had one on the Tuesday and you're getting the agenda ready, or community services, there's only 1 or 2 items that really are likely to have to go onto a council agenda. So that's why originally we were looking to see the agenda noon hour Wednesday, and that gave staff another 4 hours to pick an item up and add it to the agenda. And I guess I'm not even against if there's something that staff couldn't get ready, but they can get ready by Friday, or we bring it up to the council meeting as an add-on. I don't even have a problem doing that.
But there's no public notice of that. And I think that's a disservice to the public to bring things to the council and add-ons. If this is voted in favor, staff have to follow this, but you do understand the additional pressures that you're putting on staff to make this happen. It's always been Fridays, and if you wish to change it, that's fine. Councilor Van Alstyne.
Well, I agree with this, that I asked for it, and I am very happy to see it coming in on Wednesday. And for the staff time, in my opinion, we have very good staff, and I'm sure that between what they have electronically and what they are currently able to do, they will be able to meet this.
Okay, have you talked to staff in terms of what their timelines are? Like, because it's clear that they have difficulty by Friday, they get meetings of the staff report. Anything else on this for discussion? All in favor? It is carried. Okay, moving on to our regular agenda items. So G1, a recommendation regarding an integrity commissioner. I need a mover and a seconder for this one. Okay, I'll move by Councilor Milot. Seconded by Councilor Meeker. Be it resolved that, and Nick Blank is appointed as the integrity commissioner for the town of Westmeadow. Okay, I will speak on this item first. It was recommended by staff that I am the integrity commissioner of choice. There is several reports, several quotes. They are one of the less expensive integrity commissioners. Some of the other ones are as much as 2 times higher in terms of their hourly fees. They are from Northern Ontario. And they do a lot of the municipalities around in the district. So that is one that I am prepared to support. Yes.
I did a quick a number of calculations just to see what the cost of the visit would be, okay? To see how much more, like some of these people are from Southern Ontario. So if they have to travel up, what does it cost? For Ironside, it's about $540 travel cost. That includes the labor, the hourly rate plus the mileage. For the group in Sudbury, it's about $525. There's one person, Swayze from Caledon, that's $1,770. Now, I could be out a few dollars, but I mean, we're trying to get some scale here, what it would look like. And for Toronto, it would be about $2,400. That's fasting.
That's fasting?
That's fasting, okay? So there's not much difference between Sudbury and Iron Bridge, okay? But but if we're gonna get somebody from Caledon or Toronto, we're talking probably an extra $1,200 to $1,700 just for them to get here.
And a lot of the stuff, I'll add to that, is being done without them necessarily having here.
Yeah.
But then we also have to look at the
Yeah,
and fasting, and one of the other things is about 400.
yeah. The hourly rates for Ironside were $210 an hour. Sudbury was $225. Caledon was $280, and Toronto was $250 to $400. The top rate was $400 an hour. The two groups from Southern Ontario have a lot of communities they're servicing, and they have a lot of experience, okay? So that's a plus on their part. But I think distance, if you get into a sticky situation and you're into investigations, they're going to start paying for it in a pretty big way. So in my mind, it doesn't matter whether it's Ironside or Gallagher. Gallagher, that group has someone in here who's doing the industrial relations for the town, and they've indicated that they would push any integrity commissioner stuff off to another person in their organization. And they look like they have 3 well-qualified people working in an organization, and one of them has law training.
Okay.
So anyway, in my mind, I tend to agree that Iron Bridge is a good choice. Ironside, yeah. Ironside from Iron Bridge. Okay.
Right in there.
But and it looks like she's got some good experience. She's got some HR law, and there's not likely to be any potential conflicts of interest during the investigation.
Okay, anybody else? Yes.
I'm
Councilor.
leaning towards the Gallagher out of Sudbury. They've got some really good people working for them. They're not as expensive. I'm pretty sure if need be, they could be right there tomorrow.
Okay. Any other ones that you might be favoring besides that? So you kind of get.
Besides that, I liked the Spazzer out of Southern Ontario. He's the Sudbury's IC right now. Therefore, he comes up this far anyway. A little bit expensive, but you know what? With all his years of experience, I mean, you're getting what you pay for.
Which one are you talking about?
Robert
Oh, Robert.
Swayze?
Swayze?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
I read them all very, very closely. I like Robert Swayze.
Okay.
He gave great presentation, I thought, and some of the things he said would show me, you know, he has the integrity that we're looking for.
And what was his annual rate? You have that in front of you?
Yes, the $280, $140 when he travels.
Yeah.
52 cents a kilometer, 1,000 down in advance
For a yearly retainer.
for a yearly retainer, yes. And with the same token, I don't think we'd want to take anybody for much more than a year until we find out what's really, you know, whether we like the person or whatever.
Right. Councilor, oh, sorry, Councilor.
Can we sign an agreement for a specific length of time? Like a yearly agreement?
Yeah, I don't see why we can't.
I prefer someone with experience. When you're dealing with code of conduct and harassment, you should have somebody who's had a lot of work and experience in it. And I don't believe this Ironside has from the review I looked at this. There was a lot of pay equity, human resources, negotiations, a lot like the Greener Resources or Gallagher, whatever they call them now. I think when you're getting into something that heavy, that you should have an experienced person. I would prefer Robert Swayze myself.
Okay, Councillor Vanderpump.
I was looking towards both Swayze and Preston. But of the two, I would be quite happy with Swayze as well.
Do you have any concerns with Swayze, Robert Swayze, Councillor Foster?
Pardon?
Do you have any concerns with?
No, he looked reasonable to me as well. I was surprised I think he's probably into almost 80, okay? So I'm just looking at when he graduated from university. I think it was about 1965 or something like that, so. What I don't know is what support staff he has. I suspect he's on pretty well on his own, okay? I think probably when he retired back in 2006, he may have just turned around and I'm guessing he retired around there because he became where he was partner with somebody else. It just shows up as his name there. So I don't want to age discriminate, but he's got a fair platter on his plate there, but he probably will come up to Sudbury on a regular basis there, so I don't know. Yes. And that's a plus there in that he may come up to the area, so maybe he might be able to tie in business for both communities, okay, and may help us with transportation costs. His hourly rate was reasonable for someone who has a law degree. He is probably the most experienced of the whole group, and he wasn't charging an arm and a leg for the travel. But he's still 4 hours away, roughly 4 hours away.
Okay, so if I put in Robert J. Swayze as the utility commissioner, would you object, Councillor Moore, Councillor Dufault, because you were moved and seconded the motion? Okay.
Did you want us to sign it or?
No, I wrote.
Okay, just put it in,
Yes,
okay.
yeah. So the motion reads, be it resolved that Robert J. Swayze is appointed as the integrity commissioner for the town of Espanola. Any final comments? Okay, we'll call the motion. All in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. Okay, item G2 on the agenda. Any mover and a seconder? This is for receiving financial information. Okay, Councillor Malott and Councillor Duplessis. So I'll read the motion, we can discuss it. Be it resolved that council reviews the full costing as of February 28, 2019 for each of the following. New fire hall, OPP costing, integrity commissioner's report, video fees paid to Councilor Scan, with a breakdown on phone calls, live streaming, and in person. Furthermore, the above cost will be provided at the local council meeting on March 12, 2019. So you have all of the information in front of you. Any comments? I do have one question on the please, report. It is about the severance pension and other costs of the legal of the CPC hearing. It says not required. Is that just deferred into another year?
No, originally we had budgeted that 25,000, but we didn't know if we could be a lawyer, for the disbanded hearing, and we turned it into.
Okay, so that's what that is for. But we're still $628,300, almost $400 over budget. So that's significant. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Councillor Dixon.
Does the fire hall committee exist?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Questions or comments?
And just this, thank you very much for preparing this. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'll call the motion. All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you have it?
I did not. I was
Okay.
raising my hand and I said, did she call?
Okay, I'll call the motion. All in favor? Okay, it's carried. And mostly it's
Sorry.
an informational motion. It's okay. It's usually one of the reasons. Okay, item D3. I need to get both of those. Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder for this motion. So it can be put on the floor for discussion. Okay, moved by Councilor Foster. And do I have a seconder? Councilor Dixon. Okay, so the motion is we resolve that a reserve fund be established as a mayor's fund to make contributions to the community. The reserve will be funded by contributions from the mayor's salary. So I am prepared to donate a percentage of my take-home pay to the community. And what I was thinking of is I had seen a video where elementary school children had done a report on the Trans-Canada Pipeline. And they had done individual research sections across British Columbia and Alberta in terms of what this would look like. And the students happened to receive a mayor's award for the work that they had done. And I thought, wow, what a great way to get kids involved in the future of the community. So we have received an increase in our salary, and it basically doesn't result to an increase in the end result of what we're paid, but just because of the government's changes in the way that the taxes work. I thought, you know what, I'll still take part of that salary anyways that I'm receiving and put towards a discretionary fund that can be used to fund a number of different things. It could be for students that are completing Heritage Fair projects that are specifically geared towards us in NOLA. It could be maybe a science fair project if there's something that is looking at something to do with water management, or anything that's related to our municipality that they can potentially receive just a small amount of money and a certificate saying, you know, great job from the community. And as part of that, I'm willing to fund that. Also, from time to time, if there's a group looking at putting in benches someplace as part of a park, if there's enough money in that fund, that money could go towards that. And I thought, since I am prepared to make those donations, I would bring that to council so that you're aware of that. If you wish to also contribute to that fund, you can also do so if you choose. So any comments or questions? Yes,
Yeah.
Councilor Van Elfen.
At the meeting we had on Friday, one of the things they talked about was either a reserve or a reserve fund. The money had to go in by bylaw and out by bylaw. So is that not correct? That's the way they were talking. That was my understanding.
I don't believe that that's correct.
Because they were even talking if it was a reserve fund and you took money out, you could, but you had to put the money back in, principal plus interest. That is the way they were talking at the meeting.
Do you have any, like, copies of slides or material or anything?
I'll have to look. I think it might have been just them talking and not right on a slide.
Reserve funds are different because usually they're for like, you know, a specific for
Yeah.
this, right? But a lot of our reserves are discretionary and, council can direct how they want to use those. So,
Like, I was just curious, like, if you're putting it in, like,
We have the Shelley Newton Memorial Fund, which is like a discretionary reserve fund right now.
that one's not.
Oh, that one's not?
Not a discretionary fund because it's, the family has kind of specified what they want that used for. So council can't say, oh, I want to use that for any other purpose. So that might be like a reserve fund, right?
When we do that,
But we've identified what's discretionary and what's non-discretionary in the reserve policy. We've identified some areas that were
he said
discretionary.
reserve or reserve fund, but he didn't say discretionary. Is what the she.
Going back to our policy that we just happen to have, right? They talk about reserve funds and obligatory reserve funds versus discretionary reserve funds. So all of the different reserve funds have different categories, and so some we have to have because of another legal requirement, or it has this would create, like, the obligatory reserve fund is created as required by statute for specific revenue sources. These funds must be segregated and used only for special prescribed. If we take a look at a discretionary reserve fund is created under section 417 of the Municipal Act when council chooses to designate reserves to finance future anticipated expenditure. So these future expenditures would be community students doing projects, right? And it's just a way of giving back to the community that I'm prepared to fund. And that's all I am suggesting that I am doing.
Would this be done at the event, or would it be done at the year end, at their commencement, or like, how do you propose to hand it out?
Well, if it's a student, right, like if it's a student thing and they're having a heritage fair project, oftentimes they have a day where they all present their projects. If I'm invited to go see their or be part of their judging, I can take a look at their projects and decide at the end of that day whether a student is awarded. I know I've had students be awarded prizes from LandBack locally for a business development plan that they had. And what happened is after the show, they received a certificate and awards presented in the school by somebody from LandBack. So it'd be the same kind of thing. It wouldn't necessarily be on that day. It could even be an invite to have a student come and present their findings to council or their project to council. It's just a way to get youth involved in municipal politics because youth are our future. And if we take a look, no offense to anybody here, we take a look at the average age around the table, it's not young people that are standing up for municipal politics, right? And I think if we encourage students that the municipality is there for their good, then potentially we can attract future councillors that are young. It has happened in other communities where we've had young people apply for council roles.
So how would this work? So you would put the money in once a month
Yeah, just comes off my paycheck.
in there, and you would be the one that would decide when and where the money was coming out. It wouldn't come back to council. I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking.
Well, it could come back to council if that's something, or it could be a subcommittee of council that gets formed for the disbursement of funds. But considering that at this point in time, I'm the only one that's prepared to donate unless anybody else stands up, it could be if multiple people are willing to donate to the fund, then those are the people that can choose where that money is being dispersed to. But then it does make all of the town look good too, right?
Have you seen that in other places?
Well, like I said, there was a mayor's award, and it involved a financial prize and certificates for.
But have they done anything in terms of looking into legally, the consequence of ramification? Is there anything that you know of that would you would need to protect yourself for some reason? Just arbitrarily, if you just do something like that, there's always a consequence.
Such as?
I have no idea.
Okay, go for it.
I don't know. No, I was going to say what you're doing is admirable, but in the same token, maybe to his end is, would you have to provide us with a list or anything like that? You said discretionary,
Yeah.
but would there have to be a list coming to council or
Well, I
because to his end, I mean, he's got a possibility there. I mean, there's a possibility for anything, right?
Somebody didn't get the word in last, so I thought it was even.
I know, right? It doesn't make sense. And I agree with you, but, you know,
Council Foster.
The mayor you already have a bit of a discretionary thing that the town donates, and maybe it's between the CAO and there, but the town often makes some small donations to some of the groups around town. I think that's happened over the years, eh?
Yeah, we have a donation policy that we follow.
Yeah.
It's come to council in the past.
So, you know, I would think we just follow. I don't know what that donation policy is, but it probably allows discretion where the mayor will decide. I think the yearly budget's about $5,000 or $1,000 or.
Maybe up to 4 now, I'm not sure.
Okay, so, and the mayor doesn't come back to council, but I believe, how does that work now?
If it's over $1,000, it comes to council.
Yeah, but if it's anything under that, you approach Jill with the idea, or she has an idea?
No, generally, only if it's something I'm not sure about, then I would go to Jill.
So I would think this would be worked quite similarly in a way, you know? If Jill, anyway, I'm just.
I was just gonna say, I mean, staff could go research other municipalities to see if there's a policy for any other municipalities that have such a thing.
Okay.
And just in the meantime, maybe we get a copy of donation policy.
Sure.
If more of us wanted to donate, then we could revise the policy.
I thought this is the best way to introduce this as an idea. Are we okay if we defer this motion and we direct staff to come back to see if what other municipals possibility are doing?
yeah.
And to also get a copy of our donation policy so that we can follow it.
And I have one last question.
Yes.
Say something unknown happened when you passed away. Not that I'm saying that,
Yeah.
but what would happen with the money in there? Like, you know,
I would think, okay, so this is what I was envisioning is that if there's money, whoever is the mayor is the mayor's fund, the money is there, right? Because it's always the mayor's municipality, and municipality owns it at that point in time,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
I'm looking to get back to my community that I live in, and that's what the goal is. Now, also, there can be a stipulation on this that it doesn't make the next mayor, like the fund would be up until 20, whenever.
Oh.
And so if the next mayor wishes to continue, they can introduce the same kind of motion or they can make that decision to set up. So I would put an end date on this contribution, that it's only for me, but I'm not going to be ready to follow this too.
okay.
Okay, so right now we are going to defer this motion with the two requests. Do I need to indicate a date that it's deferred to? Given that we have staff off. But even on the next one, within the next year, council meeting. Okay?
That's good.
Okay, that's the end of the business portion of the meeting. So correspondence, we've had people budget variance report. We've had a statistical report for information privacy feature of Ontario. That's attached to our agendas. Other information circulated to council was the check register, municipal fairs and housing correspondence on housing supply action, a resolution for municipality of Red Lake, the Lake Saving Society correspondence, stewardship Ontario regarding the municipal hazardous, I don't know what that stands for, waste, what that was? Municipal hazardous, something like that. Anybody know what that stands for?
Say what?
MHSW. I'm trying to think of what S is. Stewardship? No.
Yeah, maybe it is stewardship. I thought I saw
Okay,
it
we
one place.
had correspondence.
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it.
Okay, conferences and conventions coming up. There's FONOM, which is in Sudbury on May 8th, 9th, and 10th. And do we have anybody that's interested in going to that?
Yes, I already seen Tracy about that.
Okay, so we also have a policy that counselors can attend one. So, and I know you already said you were interested in going to emo.
Yes.
So Sudbury, FONOM or emo? You have to make a choice.
No, the policy,
Sorry, I could be
okay.
wrong. Go ahead.
the policy is that one major conference and local conferences, so,
Okay,
okay, so the
That's right.
Phenom, you don't have to stay overnight, you can
No.
travel back and
okay,
forth.
thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, I believe that's correct.
I would have to.
I'm pretty sure it is.
You know what, now that you said that, I think so.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just think of FONOM being a bigger conference, but
It is,
local, so
but it's in Sudbury, so it's,
we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, Councilor Van Alstyne, that's excellent that you're going. Anybody else?
I'm planning to go to that.
Okay, Councilor Foster?
And I think anybody on council, if they have the opportunity, should probably take that.
Yeah,
If
this
you're not
one's,
working.
this one's nice and close for you, Councilor Dufour, if you're interested in
Yeah.
going, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so check with Tracy, to get registered for that.
I'll be working.
Me too. Okay, and the next one is the 2019 AMO Annual General Meeting and Conference in Ottawa. So again, I know Councilor Van Alstyne and I have already included in Councilor Knapp is interested. So if you're interested in going that, make sure that you get your name to Tracy so she can register you. Okay, Mayor and Council reports and announcements. Okay, we'll start with Councilor Foster.
I don't have anything.
Councilor Duplessis.
Just council should compliment a citizen of Massanutten, Mr. Dave Harrison. He was a person who kept stats around town for a lot of sports, but specifically with Sudbury Wolves for 45 or 50 years, and he retired recently. And he also was a member of council for a number of years.
Thank you for recognizing him. Councilor Van Alstyne.
First, I want to say I really enjoyed going to the AMO conference in North Bay. I just got a couple of highlights about it. One thing is I wasn't aware of, but we can ask the insurance company to come and speak here on our risk, for our risk policy.
Okay, that was scheduled.
And we could also ask them about cybersecurity and whether or not we are have any coverage or anything like that. They specifically talked about a municipality in southern Ontario that were hacked, and the people went after them for bitcoins, and the municipality lawyer advised that they go ahead and pay it. And it took them, I forget how many days to rebuild what they had lost.
Okay.
That was one of the things. The other thing they talked about was the role of media, and that we should have a social media policy. And they said he was talking so much, so I didn't catch everything, but there was something about Red Brick Communication, all one word, and it's online, and it gives you some information on stuff like that. He talked about the asset management plan. It started in 2003, and we have to have it completed by July of 2019. They talked about effective meetings with Bill 68 and the virtual meeting attendance. So when he was talking about that, he said a quorum had to be physically present for those meetings, and that we should have a policy for virtual meetings and limit the number of meetings a counselor could attend in any year by video as opposed to being in. And if it was a video meeting, all voting should be a recorded vote at that time. And I think there was one. Oh, the other one he talked about was the statutory duty of care for water. And they talked about that there was a Walkerton clean water test. And if we asked them to come, they will give us the test, and it's a written test after their presentation on it. But it was excellent. The people there were nice, everything.
Good. I'm glad you went. I'm very glad you went.
Yeah.
Anything else? Or just a report on your?
Oh, that was it. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Councilor Ford.
I'm good, thank you.
I also attended the AMO training, found it very informative. Like Maureen, her notes were very well done. I'm saying anything more. It was just
Okay, any other comments? Are you done with that? I'm glad you went also.
yes.
Just a couple of things that you had brought up, Councilor Milstein, that risk assessment from the insurance. We actually had the presentation scheduled in March.
Oh,
That was
good.
one of the ones that we were supposed to have,
Oh,
but
yeah, that's right.
was postponed because of all of the other shortages and
Yeah.
storms and stuff. So that is coming, right? The other thing that will happen in the spring, once some of the snow disappears as well, I'll be asking for a tour of the water treatment plant. So you'll get a chance to see, and with sewage treatment plant as well, because the biosolids issue is coming up. So you can see firsthand in terms of what equipment it is, what the plant looks like. So you'll have a chance to see that. I don't know if my returning councilors had a chance to see the water treatment plant.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's still several people that can see it. Another thing to see it again if you've already been up there, because it gives us a first-hand view of what's in place up there. We just had the report from the Clean Water Agency that takes a look at some of the breakdowns that they have. It's a good way to understand when they're talking about the process, what that process actually looks like. So I'm thinking once a little bit of the snow disappears, it might be a better time to schedule something like that. Plus at the beginning, we're also inundated with so much training that we'll get that at some point in time.
I have one other thing on this.
Sure.
They also said that the Municipal World had a pamphlet called Ontario Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and it cost $35, and it was really well worth it.
Okay.
So if that's true, if we could see about getting that, that'd be great.
Okay. Can you send me the information on that?
On this?
Or send it to Cynthia?
Okay.
As part of some of these things, when we go off to a conference, you put together a little bit of report. Normally that would go to Cynthia, okay, and like you report it to a council. So you should probably provide Cynthia a copy, and she can distribute that to the rest of
Oh,
us.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Okay, and that way, if one or two people go, the rest of us at least gets some of what you learned from the conference.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was a training session, not a conference. But we'll still do the same thing.
Okay.
Now, in terms of the Red Brook communication that we talked about, you had indicated an interest in stand up the communications one-on-one training at Greenwood.
Yeah.
Red Brook Communications does that training.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have answers for you tonight.
That's good.
I just wanted to talk, in terms of my reports, I had thought earlier in my term that I would use some time with my report to talk about different procedural items. So today what I wanted to do is talk about noticing at council meetings. It says in our procedure bylaw that exists right now that says councillors wishing to present notice of all new motions, except motions listed in clauses 1811, which is about amendments to motions, that kind of thing, shall be given in writing to the clerk at least 6 calendar days, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and statutory holidays preceding the date of a meeting at which the motion is to be introduced. So when we come to a council meeting with a notice of motion and we wish councillors to vote on that motion, it's really an unfair way of doing business. Number one, the biggest unfair is when we talk about accountability and transparency. And when that motion is not being put on the agenda for the public to review, they don't know that motion is being introduced and potentially being discussed that night. So it's not very good for public transparency when you're introducing motions at the meeting. It's not fair to fellow councillors because they don't have a chance to read the motion in advance, ask questions, be prepared. It's also not fair to councillors in terms of having staff review the motion, make sure the motion is worded properly, make sure staff understand what the motion is actually dealing with so it can be clarified, and provide any background research to the rest of council. So I will strongly recommend that if we have motions, there's lots of ways to bring them forward to council. You can give them to the clerk directly, you can, or to the CAO. You can give them to the chair of each of corporate services or community services. So it doesn't matter whether you sit on that or not. You can say, here's an item that I'm hoping you can discuss at your services meeting and bring to council. And then each of those chairs have the ability to talk to staff and make sure something gets added to council meetings. Because when we talk about public accountability and public transparency, introducing motions with as much advance notice is only fair to the public and fair to the rest of the councillors. So I would hope that we consider that going forward. There's been a few motions that have come directly to council and gone directly to a committee. And I just want you to think about that before you introduce them in that manner. Okay, I don't have any other items to bring up. I guess before the next meeting, we'll have a food services board meeting. And that's all I have for tonight. Okay, so we have, I need to move our secretary to adjourn. So moved by be it resolved that the regular meeting council will adjourn at 8:11. All in favor? That's carried.